It's time now for our great British debate this hour. I'm asking, is it time to stop glamourising terror? Former ISIS bride Shamima Begum, she's actually in the spotlight once again. That's following the release of a BBC documentary where she details her journey to Syria and expresses deep regret for her actions on TV. Shamima fled East London back in 2015 to join the terror organisation as a teenager alongside two others. Now, supporters claim that she was groomed by ISIS, whilst others would dub her as a traitor and knowingly and willingly joined a death cult. Not only has she had a documentary and a podcast, but she's recently featured on the front cover of The Times. Shamima seems to be receiving a lot of publicity despite being a former ISIS bride. So for the great British debate this hour, I'm asking, is it time that we stop glamourising terror? Well, I'm joined now by filmmaker and journalist Andrew Drury and reality TV star and commentator Narinder Kaur. Right, I'm going to start with you, Andrew. Now, you have met Shamima Begum. We spoke a little while ago.
Yeah, we did.
Talk to me about what you thought about her at the beginning and what your emotions were towards the end of your relationship with her.
When I first met her, I really liked her. I felt sorry for her. I thought my first thoughts were she was groomed and she was trafficked over there. So from the age of 12 or so, and I read what was in the press. And then it changed bit by bit, little things that she said to me. I got more and more negative towards her.
Like what? What did she say?
I think one of the big, I think we mentioned the babies, and I couldn't understand how she could lose 3 kids, and she was OK with it, and she was over that. She said, I'm over that now, and that surprised me.
She might have been saying that to sort of be, you know, sometimes people say, I'm over that, you know, as if...
Oh, no, she was over it.
Yeah, in your mind.
Oh, no, without a doubt. I mean, when you sit with somebody and you really know them, you know she was over it, all right.
Right.
And then there was a change. She started to apologise. She felt guilty for what she'd done, or she said she was. And in the end, she was like, it's nothing to do with me, ISIS, you know. I'm sorry about it. I'm not...
No, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, she was talking, she was saying, basically, wasn't sorry for what she'd done, she was become a victim, so she changed from saying sorry and then becoming a victim. And then she categorised herself by, this book really got to me, asked him for Guantanamo Bay Diaries. So she actually wanted a book or an instruction book to look at and say, you know, because he was a victim himself, so she was using the book as a guidebook.
But, of course, Shamima's not here to defend herself, but that's because she's in prison.
Yeah.
Narinder.
Well, I tell you, the thing is, though, Andrew, you've got the advantage. You actually know her, you've met her. Yeah. The press has spent years demonising her. It's not glamorising. We're actually just seeing the other side that we desperately needed to see. And I'd say this BBC documentary, it revealed so much that we didn't know before. And, you know, I, for one, and I know, Andrew, we had a little discussion outside.
Yeah, we did.
There were so many questions. At the end of the day, what we agree on, the girl was 15 years old. She was groomed online by older men. Whose fault is that? She was groomed online.
That's not true.
She was still underage, Andrew. But she was 50. How did she get to Syria? How?
My daughter's 50.
You
asked him a question.
I can tell you how you got hold of that. Firstly, she wasn't groomed. She saw the documentary. She said she saw this one video of in a park where she showed the park. This is a famous one, we all know about it. She said that was the only thing she saw. Then she said she knew nothing about ISIS when she was 15, which is a load of nonsense because she wanted to join Islamic State. And there was another girl called Shamina, she was also 15, and they had this little talk group. She actually knew exactly what she was doing. Are you going to tell me you've got a computer and you're not going to look up ISIS if you're going to go and join them?
My daughter's 15, and you know how easily influenced they are. They're so impressionable.
Well, to join ISIS,
and
Andrew, terror cult.
And you're saying she's changing her mind. We're entitled to change our mind. There's nothing wrong with that. I changed my mind, and you said she's vain. So I can be vain.
The vanity's
she's
not the
a
issue,
girl.
is it? The vanity's not the issue.
The issue is
hang on.
she's a British citizen.
The vanity's not the issue, is it? It's how we're using her at the moment. When you saw that Times, did that not make you sick? Because you don't
Did it make you sick? Yes or no?
No, actually, no.
Okay.
Did you not think of the victims of when she said Manchester bombing was justified?
No, it was disgraceful.
So do you not think that magazine cover could have showed one of the girls who were affected by the bombing rather
No, because Shamima Begum is a benign member. She didn't do that. She was radicalised. She was radicalised. You have to have some sympathy by the people on... Shamina, the other girl, also had... Well, why did the police, therefore, send a letter saying, actually, she's at risk?
How do you know Shamima didn't radicalise Shamina?
Miss Begum was at risk of being radicalised. Why would the police send that? And then, even worse, do nothing about it. The police did nothing about it. They knew she was at risk.
So when she was there, why did she not try to leave?
She tried to leave. She said that in this documentary.
She didn't. I spent a lot longer than Josh did there, and I know her really well because the messages we carried on having a relationship outside the camp. I knew what she's doing weekly. She never once tried to escape, and he never said that in the documentary.
She did say that. She said that.
Never once.
So you're saying that a child bride, by the way, Nana, she's not an ISIS bride. This whole image of this ISIS bride, child bride, sex trafficking.
Well, okay, hold on.
She could just walk out the house.
Girls did escape.
The person that she went off to see was from ISIS, wasn't he? So that would make her an ISIS bride. That's why they're saying.
Well, she's 15 years old, so under international law, that makes her a child.
Okay, but she.
It makes it sex trafficking.
Yeah, she might. Maybe, but she may have married this guy, so he's correct in.
Within 2 weeks of getting there.
Yeah, well, that's irrelevant.
No,
the
it's 10 days. The
fact that he's made is correct. That she's an ISIS bride.
She
not
also,
child bride.
So she was part of the ISIS setup. She lived with an armourer that she said she never knew was an armourer. That's a lie, because she told me she knew what he was.
She's 15, what do you know?
So she told me that was a lie too. So she lived with the armourer. She said he was a quiet guy. He wasn't quite clearly. He would have had all the major figures of ISIS visit him. He was the armourer. So that was a lie.
Do you not think there's fear when she's at these camps? You know, when she's at the camps even, there's fear because there's ISIS.
But Narinder, how far does that fear go? OK, so you're 15.
I'd be scared.
If you think of the fear, you've left a perfectly safe environment. You've gone off somewhere to create fear for yourself.
Correct.
And now you're there, you are afraid, which you would be. But all of this is about fear. And then the fear that she's put into others. So I think what we're alluding to is the fact that we are thinking about the perpetrator rather than the victims. What about the victims, Narinder? What about... Talk to me about the victims.
But of course, we could talk about the victims all day.
No, I'm asking you.
No.
I'm asking you to talk to me about the victims. Because you're saying about Shamima, so I'm saying, OK, let's sit from the other side. What about the victims?
It's dreadful. It's terrible. And we have full sympathy for that. Of course we do. But we're talking about Shamima. And Shamima Begum, at the end of the day, is living... No, she's not without fault. She is not without... She's not innocent. We know that. But let a British judge on that.
Why should she?
This country...
Why should you? If you commit...
British citizen.
No, but that's not the point. If I'm a British citizen,
yes.
and I commit a crime in America, where do I serve time?
Well,
where do I serve time?
Well, that's
where do I serve time?
Well,
if I commit a crime...
But there's no law there. She can't serve time in Syria.
Asked you a question.
She can't live her life in a tent.
I'm asking you a simple question. I'm a British citizen. I go to America. I break the law. Hang on. Where do I spend time?
America, because they've got their laws.
America.
But you can't, there's no law in a tent in a refugee camp. There's no law. She's stateless.
That's your limitation about the subject. There is a law. She's under the SDF, which is the Syrian Defence Forces law. She has been held there and she will go to trial there. They have a judicial system and she could go to trial there.
Do you think that's fair, Andrew?
Do I think it's fair? Why? Well,
do you not think she, as a British citizen who was an underage girl, should be tried here? If there's any evidence of any wrongdoing.
Let him finish, because you've asked.
What I'd like to say to you about this, before you think there's evidence of her joining the Hezbollah, which is a religious priest, that means that she would have controlled women's having their headscarves on. There's a possibility she sewed suicide vests. Now, I've been to the stadium where those vests were sewn on, and I've been to refugee camps where the effects of those suicide vests. And if she's guilty of that, no matter whether she was groomed or no, she did that. So you've got to be careful on how far... Well, she is guilty, because she's been tried in a court of justice where they proved the evidence. The evidence has been presented, and she's lost her citizenship for it, so I'd say she's guilty, because that's what she is.
But do you not feel any sympathy that actually she was 15 and groomed? She was.
Groomed by who?
From 13, 14, 15, online by grown men.
All she said is she looked at a video. There was no grown men doing it. I sat and spoke to her on a concrete slab.
My daughter would never just up and stick
I don't think she'd join ISIS,
No, of course not, because therefore something went wrong
So why is it
along the line.
not for her, your daughter, but not this girl?
Because my daughter has had advantages that Shamima Begum didn't have.
What advantage
and we must look at
have?
class.
What advantage was that?
What advantage did Shamima have that this...
She had no advantages. You look at the family upbringing. You've got to look at... There's
no context.
What about the family upbringing?
She grew up in Tower Hamlets. She didn't feel like she belonged. In the documentary, she goes, I didn't...
What a load of nonsense.
She suffered racism.
What a load of nonsense.
She didn't feel...
So have you joined ISIS?
No, but I moved from Newcastle to Leicester.
Let's talk about this racism, right? Because you brought the racism into it. I sat and spoke half an hour on racism to her, and I said to her, why did you do what you did? Did you have racist comments against you for school? She said, well, one little girl, when I was about 6 or 7, she had no racist issues at all. So that's nonsense. And that documentary, that's a new story that Josh has put. And I believe that she was led to that answer.
Andrew, do you think, therefore, she should just stay in this camp, in this tent, for the rest of her life? As a British citizen.
She's living a better life than the ones in the refugee camp who've got no air conditioning. Child died during birth.
So that's fine then. She's lost 3 children.
What about the other women in the camp?
She was sex trafficked.
What about the other one?
She's our responsibility. Whether she's a troublemaker...
There's loads of British in there. Should let them all go?
And lots of British do come back as well. Why is she being made a poster girl? Why is she suffering?
She's made herself
to
a poster
be made
girl.
an example
Why do you think... Listen, first of all, I don't know why she should be on the front of any newspaper, so I don't want her to be any poster girl at all. So I think that's wrong, full stop. But, I mean, Andrew does make a good point. Obviously, the points are his opinion, because he's actually met her.
I know.
You haven't actually met her. So he's giving you...
He's got an advantage,
He's giving you his judgment based on what he says, and Andrew doesn't come across to me as somebody who's easily fooled.
No.
But he was at the beginning.
I was, without a doubt.
But then that still doesn't take away his personal opinions about Shamima. I might meet her and think, oh, God, actually, I don't like her. But that doesn't mean that we throw her away. Well, she's our problem to take control of.
Why is she our problem, though?
Because she was born in Britain. She's a British citizen. Yeah, her citizenship should never have been revoked, Nana. That was a minister making that. And that was actually very, very dangerous, because it sets a precedent that
it's a different question, isn't it?
It's not a gift. Human rights is not a gift.
Andrew, I want you to finish this off. I want you to finish this off with your thoughts on this. Well, what do you think?
About the whole situation, I don't think she can ever come back, because she could bring a government down. I think the poster stuff that she's had, if she got brought back to this country now with that image you saw in that Times magazine, and I think whoever put that on should be questioned. I think, personally, I still believe that she should be tried here, possibly.
Yeah.
But I don't think she'll get that option. I think she'll be tried in Syria within the next few months, because I think that'll be the forced issue, and she'll do 20 years.
And just to correct something, she's not actually in prison at the moment.
No, she's not.
So she's in a camp. So I'm just
in a better condition than people in refugee camps.
And you would be happy
prison.
if your child was there, if they got influenced by someone.
My child would not be
Would you not do
influenced.
everything to get that person back? I mean, I'm not...
Well, her parents haven't done anything to get her back.
Her parents... Well, I don't know
exactly. Look at the family background.
They haven't, you know.
So Andrew, there you go, the family background. She's got no one who actually loves her.
Well, maybe they feel
you can't say that.
I feel. No parent would be.
Well, I don't know.
I think she's had a lot of lack of love.
They feel ashamed of her because her sister doesn't want to talk to her. That she said because of issues of embarrassment being involved with her. I asked if I wanted to send a message to her mum, and she said no. I don't want to talk to my mum. I'll save it for my mum.
Well, and of course, those people aren't here to defend themselves.
No, they're not.
To confirm that, but I appreciate the thoughts. Thank you very much. Really good to talk to you, Andrew, Drury and Narinder Kaur.
Thank you.